You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Lou Need, and today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show. I am thrilled to have him here today, guys. Steve Cadigan. He is the renowned talent strategist and thought leader in the future of work. And this is so prominent right now in this time of age with remote working and how to acquire talent, how to keep talent, how to get buy-in from talent. And this is all the stuff that Steve is going to chime in about today because he's drawing from over 30 years of experience in leading talent initiative at Fortune 500 companies. So it is such an honor to have him here today and how he advises organizations and navigate talent disruption. And especially after COVID, this has been, again, such a big challenge for organizations and especially startups as well. People looking for co-founders that can be challenged. And so just going to get off the mic. I'm going to bring them in on. So with no further ado, Steve, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Looking forward to our conversation.
I am thrilled. Now, you have over 30 years of experience. You just come out and started doing this, and it's like you were born and innate to do this. Tell us about what led you to to look into talent and how to get talent, how to retain talent. Why is that so important to you?
You know, for me in my journey, honestly, this was a big accident. I didn't know this whole field existed when I was in school. And I had the great fortune of having a grandmother who could help pay for my college, and the rest I got in student loans. But when I graduated, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I found a company that was going to move me around. Mm-hmm. And probably about a year in, I discovered this thing called recruiting. And what I love about recruiting is everything I love about sports, which is trying to identify which team members play with better with which coach, with what environments do they thrive in, high pressure, low pressure, big team, high deadlines or quick deadlines, long deadlines. And I was surprised, like people are going to pay me to figure this out. Like, this is great. And I'm a huge sports fan. And so, that sort of led me to fall in love with this discipline very early. And I've had the chance to work in a bunch of different industries, different countries and so forth. And, here we find ourselves today in the most complex, unpredictable, fast changing world of work. Yeah. And it's funny, like, I don't think my 30 years has prepared me for what we face right now. And I feel like I'm speaking for a lot of business leaders who are facing, whether it's the advent of, the tsunami of AI, whether it's a higher turnover, whether it's more people changing jobs and careers than we've ever seen before, whether it's more students changing their majors in college faster than any time in history since we've been measuring it. More students are studying new things. We're seeing crazy stuff like accountants are now declared an endangered species. Like, we can't find these people. And that is so interesting, and so I really, I'm as excited, but also, concerned about all these challenges. And that's what my life work is right now, is try to help organizations make sense of this really increasingly complex landscape.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you because I'm excited about this low key because it piques my interest. Because it's such an important aspect to organization is hiring the right people, is having the right people in place. And just as the metaphor you related to sports, it really is an art. It's an art and a science to actually placing people, finding the right organization fit, finding the right fit with for the person to want to be in. And with all the changing variables that you mentioned, I'm telling you, it becomes so complex and so challenging. Yeah. So tell us how we can even begin to start thinking about this in a simpler, but I think holistic approach, because it can't just be data driven. There has to be some intuition in it. There has to be some instinct that comes into hiring the right people.
Yeah, 100%. So let's step back for a second. And I just want to underscore what you said. I think the world of assembling people to do something great is the coolest art form in the world. 100% agree with you. And I hope our audience does too. If we step back and take a look at the landscape right now with things I already talked about, the need for new skills has never been greater. People are switching jobs faster than ever before, which means you have more alumni. Every organization has more alumni than you've ever had before. Competitive landscape changes quickly. We have more new industries being created faster than ever before. And with a new industry comes new career path choices.
Right.
And that is driving, I think, in addition to social media, which lets us see more of what is possible. But social media also lets us see more of the benefits we don't have and what someone else has than ever before, making us sort of question our status, our situation. Like, is this the right place for me? And so what I'm, trying to help leaders unpack around the situation is, if I ask any leader today, what's your biggest problem? They say people are leaving faster and not staying as long. And that's a problem because we built all these models of business success means teams are together a long time, but they're just not going to be together as long as they used to be.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to help leaders understand is, do you think people in 5 years are going to stay with a company longer, or 10? And everyone says, no, probably not. I said, okay, so let's start there. Let's start to prepare to create value in a more fluid environment of talent. How do we get teams up and running quicker? How do we build teams that welcome new players and celebrate departures? How do we build an ecosystem that brings in alumni and we don't go all Tony Soprano, oh, you quit, you're dead to me, that we see a broader perspective. And that's pretty cool. And one of the examples I think that we can draw from is, let's take the automobile industry, where the most valuable company today is the one that just started less than 25 years ago. It's run by a part-time CEO who's got 3 jobs. They have more people not from the automobile industry, and they are worth more than all the other major automobile manufacturers: Ford, General Motors, Toyota, Honda, Mercedes, BMW. They're worth more than all of those combined. And they just showed up, and their tenure is about 2.5 years. So maybe in this economy where we need to be learning new things and doing new things, maybe having people a long time doing the same thing isn't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe new people with new ideas in this economy is a competitive advantage. And the tide we're seeing isn't, as disruptive. Maybe it's additive. And so I'm trying to help people look at this a little differently. And the second thing is, I'll tell you, from being the first CHRO at LinkedIn, building a new industry with more people doing things they've never done before, we built a $26 billion business in about 15 years. And that is Silicon Valley in a nutshell. And I'm not here to say this is the greatest, geography in the world. There's a lot of problems here. However, I don't think anyone can argue that there's more innovation, more market value creation in this geography than anywhere else. Now, there also is more turnover here than anywhere else. People are staying shorter than anywhere else. And more people are doing things they've never done before. So maybe it's not as bad as we've been led to believe. And that's what I think is hard right now, is we don't have a benchmark for this moment in time. And when we all face new stuff in our lives, we always think, well, who do I know that's been through this before? Let me give them a call. Yeah. Anyone know someone who's alive in the Industrial Revolution? Because that's the closest thing that I can remember to what we're facing today, where we have all these new forces creating a new landscape, and we're having to become the benchmark because we don't have all these phone a friend to help us. Right.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it.
And I can admire and appreciate you actually seeing it that way. It's not a bad thing. We're not doomed because this is happening. The old way is not working, or just because an organization is like a dinosaur and stuck in the way of this is how it's always been done, procedure, protocol, blah, blah, blah. It's not a bad thing that this new generation wants new, wants innovative, wants refresh, because like you said, they are the cornerstone of the organization that's going to make the organization innovative. They're going to make the organization stand out, because we're kind of just rolling with the new times. And I can appreciate that so much, because as a millennial and, Gen Z and all these other ones, I'm like, no, it's actually a great place to be. This is where we're at. And it's actually pretty good, because that's where new ideas are born. That's where we start creating that new benchmark. We don't have one yet, but we're on the onset of it. And that's exhilarating always.
Right. And this is why I was excited to be on your show, because I knew this is the spirit that we all need to bring, I think, to our work in our lives right now, is that we have an opportunity to build a better future of work.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of the narrative with artificial intelligence is jobs are going to get lost. People are going to lose their careers. Oh my gosh, devastation, run for the hills. It's horrible. And I'm thinking well, what if greater jobs are created? Why don't we talk about AI making jobs more interesting? Why don't we talk about AI delivering a greater sense of impact and satisfaction and joy. And isn't that what technology should deliver to us? And unfortunately, technology's delivered us in a place where we always feel behind, or we always feel like we're missing out. Like, look at email. No, we have not mastered email in the 25 years that it's been around. And so let's look at this moment with AI and say, no, let's recapture our control of the technology to deliver more beautiful and more joyous lives, not to feel like this monster is coming to suffocate us. Like, let's harness that. And that's really the narrative. Probably the biggest one that I've been focused on the last few months is like, we're having the wrong conversation about AI. We really are. Like, this is a moment where being human has never mattered more. We should be excited by that.
Right.
And we've always looked at technology sort of like, oh, let's shortcut this and let's depend more on technology. No, let's depend less on it. Let's use it to unlock and unleash our humanity more.
Exactly. And not be boggled down by it. And that's why I myself am so thrilled about it. I heard this quote that says, AI will not replace your job or replace you, but someone using AI will.
Correct.
So that's just saying it's a companion, bringing along so that we don't do the tedious work. Listen, as a morning routine and looking at like how to be productive throughout the day, you really don't want to spend your time going to mindless emails throughout the day. Let's get Gemini AI to filter that and give you the most important things so you can actually start working on what the needle movers and not waste your willpower, your brain power on unnecessary things. Using that AI, using that technology to minimize the mundane work, right? So that you can actually show up as the powerful brain to actually put in the human touch to things, right? To be more efficient is how I see it. So I am singing the same tune as you. And I'm actually, like I said, I'm super happy to hear that that's the drum you're rolling and that's what you're talking about, because that's what's needed. It's not a bad thing. The millennials are not going to change. The Gen Zs are not going to change. They're going to want to start their own businesses. They're going to want to start ups. They're going to want to do all this thing. You can't get them back to behave like a baby boomer. That's not going to happen.
Right. And these are, we created this world. One of the reasons I'm very apprehensive about talking about generations is because I think they're an unfair target for a lot of things in the world that we don't like. Oh, those young people, they're not loyal. They don't stay in a company. And I'm trying to tell leaders, listen, that generation sees more choice and opportunity and career paths than ever before. How can you begrudge them wanting to try something? Like, if they've been eating at home their whole life and then they go to Las Vegas and they see the buffet table and say, wait, I can have king crab, lobster, and prime rib. Yeah, I'm going to try that. I've only been having pizza at home. And so, and that's a challenge. And the other part about this that's hard, the reason this, and we haven't even talked about work from home and hybrid and all that stuff, which is another big challenge, is that the reason all this is hard is because a lot of the models we built for work to measure success and satisfaction were not built for fast change like this.
Right.
And so it's like, and this is one of the reasons I was so excited to meet you, because, your story of learning to swim at 30 years old, that's the story we're in now in the world of work. We're all having to learn how to swim and speak a new language, learn a new skill. And that's not what we were sold in the beginning of our career journey. Like, no, you learn this, you're good to go for 50. Now it's like, you're good to go for 5, maybe 10. And then you're going to have to learn how to swim in a different ocean. And, swimming in a pool and swimming in an ocean, very different, because in an ocean, you've got undertows, you've got waves, you got all kinds of weird, you can't see what's below the surface. Yeah. And there's, there's predators, there's stingrays, there's things, who knows what's under there. And there's ways to go about that to, benefit your safety. So that's why it's really hard and uncomfortable, because we've not seen so many frontiers change so fast. And it's the people like you who've had life experiences of adversity that sort of say, I got this. And that's what I'm trying to tell, my kids. They're asking me, one of my students is in college, and last year he said, Dad, what should I major in? And he gave me a couple of subjects. So he said, how about, I'm thinking like data science and finance. And I said, yes. And he goes, no, which one? I go, yes. And he goes, oh, doesn't matter? I go, no, it doesn't matter.
Right on.
The curiosity matters. The recognition that you can feel confident learning something new is so powerful. And that's such a great skill. But that's not what we focus on. We focus on, I need to learn AI. I need to learn this. No, you don't. Nope. You need to learn about being a greater human being and building your confidence in learning something new, I think, is the ultimate superpower today. Because everyone's looking for, Steve, I'm on these podcast shows, TV, and what's the most important skill we should be teaching? I said, the skill of learning things. That's the skill. And people are like, no, that's not really satisfying. We're looking for something flashier. I go, no, that's the power skill right there. Because if you have that, no matter what skills are needed tomorrow, you know you got this. You know you can learn to swim. And that gives you enormous levity and de-stress, if you will, to face a frontier that seems unpredictable, right?
Yeah, the agility, the mental agility. I think that's what sets us apart. And then I just my 2-year-old comes in here.
Awesome. Just love it.
Wants to sit down.
And that's the joy, the innocent joy that we're hearing in the background there. Yeah. We got to bring that. We got to bring that to our lives, and just everything's, I don't know when it changes for all of us. We get all rigid in our thinking, but that is a beautiful, state of mind that when we're younger, how we always want to be older and more, focused. And then the older we get, we want to be younger. So it's interesting.
It's all reversed, but they do bring you down to earth and bring you down to just kind of with the humanistic part of life, right? To bring you back and be human, which you cannot replace with a robot. So if we just know that, like that alone raises the confidence of like, no, I know how I can replace me. Right? Because I'm unique in that way. Like I'm the individual that I am. What I bring to the table, no machine can replicate that.
That's right. That's right. And feeling confident about that and feeling like putting our kids in different environments and different situations so they can problem solve differently. I think that gives me hope. You don't hear any noise in the background here because I have teenage boys and they don't talk. So
I know it changes as we get older. See the shift?
Right. It's so funny.
You have taken LinkedIn to the next level. You've scaled their workforce so rapidly. Let's talk about that, how you managed to do that.
Yeah. That was such a radical journey for me because, Looney, before I went to LinkedIn, I was a big company guy. I was just, and big companies, what you do in whatever role you're in is you're fixing and tuning what someone built before you. What was different about LinkedIn is I'm building something from nothing. And I walked in the door thinking, well, how hard can this be? I've seen all these different things in different industries. And then all of a sudden I realized I was a deer in the headlights about a few months in, like, I've never done this before. I've never taken a company down to the studs and built like, what is our belief in rewards? What is our belief in org structure? What is our belief in how many levels we should have? What is our belief about our relationship with our employees? What is our belief around our values? Our mission, our objectives, and how do we want to have performance management? Do we want to do performance appraisals? All these things were non-existent. And so that was a great learning for me in a discipline that I'd been in for maybe 20 years going into LinkedIn. I'd never built the human resource strategy and function from nothing. And that was scary and amazing. And 4 years that I was there, we went from 400 to 4,000, 2 countries to 17, 2 offices to 26. It was just, nothing prepared me for that. And none of us thought on the leadership team that we would realize the success that we did in the early days. And to do that, a couple of lessons I take away is, we really built a world-class culture, and I feel really super proud about that. But that experience didn't happen because we all had built world-class cultures before. It happened because we hadn't done it before. And a lot of us are told, well, you can't do something if you haven't done it before. I'm like, no, we did that because we hadn't done it before. And we weren't blocked in terms of, well, you shouldn't do this or you can't do that. We had a completely open mindset, and we were really hungry because none of us had ever taken a company and grown it like we did at LinkedIn. So that was a great experience, but it's really, really hard. And I know you work a lot with entrepreneurs. I mean, this is, like everything's on fire, I do a workshop in Portugal right now. I'm part of an incubator, one of the best incubators in Europe right now, the Unicorn Factory. And one of the lessons I like to take my leaders through in the first day of our 2-day session is, tell me about all the priorities that you're focused on right now. Like everything you're sitting here in this class and you have to put something aside for 2 days right now. What's on your mind? Is it raising money? Is it closing a candidate? Is it one of your key people is thinking of going? Is it one of your key people's got something on in their life and they're distracted? Is it a product that you're struggling to get out the door? Is it a competitor? Like, where are you putting your time and how are you thinking about it? And for most of them, honestly, they've never taken the time to sit back and go, whoa, this is a really revealing exercise how much I'm really juggling right now. So like, let's take a breath. The class we do after mine is sort of mental wellness and sort of like calm and meditation. But that is really, it's like an impossible thing. And that was probably the biggest lesson for me was just the challenge of trying to do so many things so fast. And you're worried if you don't do it fast, someone else is going to steal your lunch and build a competitor, and take you out. And so you got to move quickly. And if you haven't done it before, it's it's pretty scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're speaking the entrepreneurial language, right? Because we got to move fast or somebody else is going to come and take our ideas or come up with it. So we got to be early. We got to be the ones to start it. And so we have a million things running through our mind, and therefore we lose the clarity that I feel like your program kind of helped the entrepreneurs focus on. And that's the thing I want to focus on with you is the employee engagement. That can be challenging. Tell us how to foster that, because especially with remote work and not having people in the office and face to face, how that interaction is imperative to build trust. Let's talk about how we cultivate employee engagement in this time of age.
I have really come around a lot on employee engagement in the last few years, particularly during the pandemic, because more things affect my employees' engagement that are out of my control than ever before. If I look at the human resource agenda going into COVID, the most important thing that we're trying to work through was diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like that was number one. Like we got to figure this out. And mental wellness came above that during the pandemic. Now, all of a sudden, wellness for HR people before the pandemic was the fitness center. Okay, let's be honest. Like we were not thinking mental wellness. And now we've got mental wellness. Why? Because we're all a bunch of horrible companies and leaders? No, because there's a lot of shit going on in a lot of people's lives, And today we have more people living longer, which means all of us are caring for someone in our family longer, and it's engaging my mind share. I've got two 87-year-old parents right now, and I'm becoming a little bit more of a parent in that relationship than the child, and that was like, no one prepared me for that. And I love it and I'm happy to do it. But that's part of my profile of what's affecting my presence. And I think when I think about engagement today, I think we should start a different conversation a little bit rather than engaging employees, because we can't control all that, is giving people resources to solve stuff in their personal lives that could get in the way, right? I know some companies are giving people, 10 sessions a year, fully paid for, with a counselor, a therapist, a performance coach, whatever you want, right? We've got it. And that industry is just booming right now. And so I want to build organizations where the trust is high. That's what I want to focus more on than engagement, because I feel that if I have trust with my people, that we can weather the inevitable complexities, disagreements, misunderstandings. If we have a high level of trust, we're going to work through that, right? And so I think it's not unhealthy to be focused on engagement right now, but I think we need to recognize there's a lot of stuff out of our control impacting our engagement. And social media has opened this window up of more things we should be worried about than ever before, And so I want to try to do the best that I can to help my people realize the best that they can be. And in that, I have to realize I may not be the place for everyone for every part of their career, right?
Yeah. To top it off is we're battling with parents, having to take care of your parents. That's outside of your life, taking care of your two boys and then taking care of your business, right? That's and then taking care of yourself. You got to find time to take care of yourself so that you can show up for everybody else in your life while you do that. So I do see the value of providing those resources so that you can let life take care of the things around you so that you can be more present to your clients. You can be more present to your company or at work. So I do see the value, because we talk about this work-life balance thing a whole lot, especially during my PhD program. But with work-life balance is a myth. It's literally, you can't juggle everything. It's putting something down so you can prioritize another.
Yeah, I love Fred Kaufman wrote a book called Conscious Business, and he has a line in there that says, why do we say work life? Because that means when you're working, you're not living. Like that's just, no, you're not a zombie. And I feel more like, joy in working than a lot of parts of living. Like when I'm cleaning the house, I don't have the same joy that I do when I'm helping someone navigate a hard problem. That's living. That's making someone's life better. And so, it's an integration, right? It's a combination. It's not either or. And I think, that's that blending, and organizations that can figure that out. Like I started my career, you started yours, when it's like, oh yeah, you don't talk about personal stuff here. I'm like, what? Okay. And, it's interesting during the pandemic and during the, all kinds of political difference that we have, all the discussions around race, particularly in America. There's some companies here in the Bay Area that began a policy of you can't talk about society in the office. Coinbase and Basecamp are two companies say no, because if you're talking about it, you get in trouble. And if you don't talk about it, you get in trouble. So we're just going to talk about business here. And I thought, whoa, okay. I don't know that I'd want to work in that environment. Like I go to work to kind of make sense of the world, right? How can you park that there? But that's, an experiment that they're making. And they told people at Coinbase, if you don't like that, then you can go, you can leave. And here's a severance package. And I thought, wow, that's really an extreme reaction to, okay, trying to solve, hey, we've got all this, differences as humans inside the building. Let's park that and let's just focus on business and the thing that brings us together. I'd like to see how that's playing out, over time. Are they really bringing in the best people who don't want to talk about that stuff at work? Just an interesting dynamic. But, this is a really complex landscape that we're trying to navigate right now. And I think the more tools, resources, help, support we can give to help integrate, as you say, I think that's a really good investment.
Yeah, I agree. And then Workquake, your book, it kind of talks about the involvement and it encompasses all that. So let's dive into that real quick before we get into your morning routine. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I wrote the book and published it in 2021, really just trying to help both employers and employees make sense of the future work. And I feel like both parties going into the pandemic were increasingly dissatisfied. And then the pandemic just accelerated that, and right now, probably the biggest debate we have is, should I work from home or do I have to work in the office? And I'd rather work from home. And I get asked this all the time by my clients, Steve, what should we do? Work from home, remote, hybrid? And my answer is yes. And they say, no, we're asking you, just like my kids with the major. And I said, it's all of them. You have to experiment. You don't know which methodology is better for your culture, your company, your customers, your team, your shareholders, your leadership. You don't know. So you got to try, because some great talent is going to say, I don't want to be in an office. And if you say, no, you got to be in, you might be losing a possible superstar. And the genie's out of the bottle here. People were working from home in many cases for an extended period of time. They're like, yo, I love this. I don't want to go back there. And my life is more productive when I'm here and I'm seeing things and I'm experiencing things in my family, which is why I work, by the way, to have those moments with my family. I don't want to give that up. And so, I applaud the companies that are trying to be creative, that are trying to figure this out. And I think it's a really, again, it's a frontier where we don't have a lot of long-term data to show, are these remote teams, additive or dilutive to culture and teamwork? We just don't know yet, but I think it's worth a try. And this gets to probably the biggest thing for HR people that they don't like me to hear this, but the one size fits all talent strategy, like everyone has to do this, doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. And, this team may be able to do this team may be able to do that. That person may be able to do this, but we're trying to kind of create greater value. That's why we're here, to create greater value. And the one size fits all doesn't work anymore, I don't believe.
Throw it out the window. I agree with you 100%. It doesn't belong here. Out of here.
Yep.
Steve, let's talk about I know as a leader and to come show up for the clients that you do. Let's talk about your morning routine real quick. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
So my morning routine is pretty simple. I'm a high coffee achiever. So the first thing I do, I get up, hug my dog, I go make a cup of coffee, and then I am consuming content before anyone else is up in the house. I'm reading, I'm thinking, I'm taking notes from articles towards the book that I'm writing right now. I'm forwarding it to friends, and I'm just soaking in what's going on, what happened last night. Like this morning, the day we're recording it, we had the vice presidential debate. So I was like, what's the narrative on that? What are people thinking? There's some really interesting articles about artificial intelligence. And I was thinking about an article I have to write for this Spanish magazine. So I was thinking, so just doing thought time. Then I knew that, because on the West Coast, okay, we're up at 8:30. So I'm like, okay, I want to do a little stretching because I had shoulder surgery a couple of years ago and I'm still trying to get my shoulder back. So I want to get physically, I want to be feeling good. So that's another part of my routine usually is coffee, knowledge consumption, and then just physical readiness. And most days I like to have an hour workout before I get going. I'm a morning person, so I don't like meetings in the afternoon. Like I'm on a sprint to sort of physically and mentally get ready. And then from probably like 9 to 1, I'm on it. And then after 1, I'm, getting ready for the kids or going to see their sports games or, trying to maybe go play some more sports. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
There's that balance we were talking about, right? You work, you deep hours and you're early in the morning getting the work done. And then when it's family time, you're fully present. You're fully there. And that's important because that recharges you to show up again tomorrow morning. Right? Because they're the reason you do it. And that's that impact. I love that, that whole process. I'm very similar in that schedule. I'm at 4 a.m. up in the morning. By 2, 3 o'clock, I'm done. Yeah, work is done. I've done the most that I could do for that day. And then tomorrow's another day.
Wow, 4 a.m. Man, that's crazy. I'm on a weird schedule right now because I'm across lots of different time zones. In the last 2 weeks, I've been to Dallas, Portugal, New York, and now I'm back in California. And I do not know what time zone I'm in. You know, longest I was a week in Portugal too, and that's an 8-hour time difference from where I am. So, you know, I've been getting up around 5:30, and then my kids get up at 7. And I usually like to have breakfast ready for them. So I'm like, okay, I get up and go, I got 2 hours to read. This is great.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, you know, but most times it's probably for me, it's probably around 5:36. I'll get up.
Yeah. I have a 5 a.m. CrossFit job that is
awesome.
non-negotiable, but meditation has to happen before that. Gratitude journal has to happen before that.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as you saw, the 2-year-old is up, husband's up, and then the days get away from you, and then you got to go to emails. And you know how it is. That's why you prioritize, and that's that balance, putting one thing down to focus on the other, and then switching back around.
Yeah, you know, I should say one other thing that's become a ritual for me in the last year is having a protein shake within Tim Ferriss has sort of tried this, you know, he's realized 30. So within 30 minutes of getting up, have 30 grams of protein and then do cardio within 30 minutes. And he goes, that's the ultimate way for you to sort of keep your body super fit and your mind fit. So protein shake I put a little lion's mane extract in my stuff now to sort of give myself a little bit more mental clarity. And I've been trying a little more collagen lately, but I used to not eat until like lunchtime. Oh, yeah. And now I find I got a little more energy, a little bit more creative in my thinking. So that's become a little bit part of my routine.
Yeah, it's sustained throughout the day. You don't want to crash. So forgetting that sugary stuff that's just going to release too much, you're just going to crash after a while versus not having anything in your system to kind of fuel you. But when you do the protein, I'm with you on that. It progresses throughout the day. You release quick release of energy when you do need it. And mental clarity. Hey, I do the nootropractic brain stuff as well. Why not? Why not? Right? If you're going to get the A to optimize your thinking, your clarity,
100%.
Why not?
Yeah.
Totally agree. Steve, tell us, where can we connect with you? Where can we find you?
You can find me on my website, stevecadigan.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I also have a TikTok channel with a lot of humorous stories from my career that I learned a lot from that are true. I have a whole series called True Stories from Corporate America. And yeah, those are probably the best places to find me. And my book you can find anywhere. You know, if your bookstore isn't carrying Workquake, you can ask for it, but it's also on Amazon, Goodreads, all the main channel, and it's also available on Audible. I couldn't record it under my voice, which I'm really sad about because it came out during the pandemic. A lot of these recording studios were closed, but I've been thinking about doing sort of a David Goggins approach, which is sort of record a chapter summary in my voice and then just talk about the stories behind the making of the book. So I've been playing around with that idea. If I get, you know, my kids are almost out of the nest, so they're seniors in high school, the twins. And so once they head out, I think I'm going to start, you know, maybe being a little more active like you are on, you know, raising the cadence of my podcast and maybe do a little bit more recording.
I totally see that for you. You'd be amazing at it. Of course. Steve, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your presence with us. Anything you want to leave us with, your favorite quote, there's something that you want to resonate with the audience, anything.
I think, you know, what's on my mind right now, and I'll just leave this final thought as we, you know, get back to this AI tsunami, is that there's been a lot of research, neuroscientists have done a lot of research to suggest that the greatest decisions are never made without emotion. That, you know, as AI is great, it's meant to be augmenting our humanity. And let's use this moment to really unlock that and appreciate that emotion is necessary for great decisions. So that's what I'd like to leave everyone with today. And thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for your time. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care.
Awesome.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,